Now let's move on to our second natural resources, that is forest and wildlife. So what do you see that what is there in forest and wildlife? We all know that forest is a home to many plants, animals, and obviously we cannot forget the tiny creatures that we have studied in our previous classes, that is microorganism. So this forest is a home to so many organisms and different forms of life. That means we see a biodiversity in forest. Now what do you mean by biodiversity? Now let's break the words. Bio, that means living form, and diversity. You all know what is the meaning of diversity. Diversity means different forms. So in whole, biodiversity means that all the different forms of life or organisms that are found in forest. So we find biodiversity in forest and many plants, animals and different organisms living over there. So think, if we cut all the forest, what will happen? Obviously these all organisms will be homeless. That means our forest is serving as a habitat to most of the organisms that are living on earth, and obviously even we get benefited from forest because we get so many products from forest, like we get wood, we cut plants to make paper out of it, spices we get from forest, we get so many medicinal plants, and most of all we do research on forest or the plants that we don't know. So do you realize that how much forest is important to us and what is its importance? So because of this, forest is really very important and we need to preserve it. So it acts as a natural resource to us. So now let's see what are the defects, or we can say what are the threats that our forest is facing, because of which we need to conserve this natural resource. So first of all, let's study that who all people would be interested in protecting forest. Because see, if we are a person and we are going to school, are we really interested that we go and we'll be protecting forest? No, because now I am telling you that why the forests are so important. So you can make an effort, but you won't just go and start protecting forest now and then. So there are persons which are known as stakeholders. Now what are stakeholders? Stakeholders are the person or personality that have an interest in the asset and they will be protecting that asset. Now if I tell you in a layman language, that means the persons who are getting benefits out of this forest and out of the product that this forest is providing, they will be the stakeholders, because they will be interested that the forest stays safe and they keep on getting the products. And now we'll be seeing that who all are the stakeholders of forest. So firstly, local people, because they'll be collecting wood and many other things like fruits, vegetables that are grown in forest for their day-to-day activities. So all the local people or the people that take shelter in forest, that is the tribal people. Second will be the forest department that the government has intentionally set up to take care of forest, because if they are not taking care of forest, that means they are not doing the work for which the government has appointed them. So what will happen? Obviously their income will be affected if the forest gets affected. Now the third person would be industrialist. All the industries whose raw material come from forest, like wood industries. So all the wood is coming from forest. So they will obviously be interested in their asset to be safe, because they are getting the raw material out of which they are making products and selling in market on higher rates. So obviously they need to protect forest. So they are the main stakeholders of forest. And the fourth are the natural enthusiasts, or we can say the persons who are interested, like science students, they are interested in protecting forest because they can get new plants, they can research new medicinal plants, or what are the changes that the plants will have when they won't be there. So obviously these natural enthusiasts will be most interested in conserving the natural habitat and the natural resource. So I am sure you are clear that who all are the persons that are interested in the conservation of forest and wildlife. And obviously we should conserve these forests. Because of these forests we are getting pure air and all the raw material like spices, medicines and whatnot. So I hope now you understood that why forest is such an important natural resource and why should we make efforts to conserve forest. So now what we'll be doing? We'll be doing the sustainable development, or we'll be applying the sustainable development strategy on forest and on all our natural resources. Now what is sustainable development? It is the useful, or I must say the careful use of resources so that it provides equitable availability. That means equal availability and continuous flow. That means that we keep on getting the resources and it is not interrupted for the present generation, that is us, and for the future generation, that is for our children, our grandchildren or their children. So this is sustainable development when we are using the resources so carefully, or we must say that we are using the resource in such a way that equitable availability, this is a very important keyword that you need to put in your answer, and the continuous flow of resources is maintained. So now we'll be seeing that what are the efforts that we have made to protect our forests. So now what happened that first the man started cutting all the forest for all the material it is getting from forest, and the foremost requirement was the space, because as you know the forests were covering a large area, and as the population was increasing, so we obviously needed land for our agriculture practices, or we needed land for making homes or houses for people to live, obviously. So what we did, that forest are of no use, because at that point of time we didn't realize the importance of forests. So what we started doing, we started cutting off the forest. That means the forest cover started depleting, and the village people, it was first started in Tehri village Garhwal, that people realized that when men are cutting trees for urbanization, right, urbanization is happening, technology is developing, but what about the environment? It is getting harmed. And obviously the village people did realize faster, because they were so in relation with forest, because they used to get their woods for cooking, obviously they used to burn fire out of it, they used to get product out of it, and their animals used to go and graze in forest. So that means all these activities were in danger. So what they started, they initiated a movement that is known as Chipko Andolan. Now from the name you can suggest Chipko, that means to stick to something, right? So what all the people did, when the people from cities used to come to cut, or the people, that is the government official, used to come to cut the forest cover, they started hugging the trees. They used to say that first you need to cut us before cutting the trees. So this movement was popularized by the name Chipko Andolan, because they were sticking to trees to protect them, and soon this movement spread out to different villages, and it became a Andolan, that because of which the cutting of forest, or I must say deforestation, was prevented, and people actually started to realize that why they are so interested in protecting forest. So now let's see, we have discussed all about forest, what we are getting from forest, what the forest is giving. Now let's study about wildlife. What is wildlife? Wildlife is the living organism, all the animals, plants and microorganisms that are not cultivated, or I must say that are not domesticated. They are naturally found in the habitat, just like forest. That means they are naturally occurring. So such a living organism group is termed as wildlife, that is neither cultivated and not domesticated by human, because obviously we find animals in our houses such as cow, buffaloes, but that we domesticate for our use. But if they are occurring naturally, that no one is their owner, so that will be a wildlife, or we can say that these are wild animals because they are not domesticated by any humans and they roam around freely in forests. So I'm sure you are clear about what's wildlife. So now I'm sure that you know that what is wildlife. Now you must be thinking that what is the threat that we humans, or we living beings, or we the superior class are posing to these animals, or we may say this group of living organisms, that is wildlife. So you all know that man initially started hunting, right? Or we can term it as also poaching. That was done for its pleasure, or later on it was done for the needs. Like we take skin of animals to make clothes, right? Or over exploitation, or we have done there, we destroyed their habitat. And if their habitat gets destroyed, you all know that if our houses get destroyed, where do we live? We have no place to live and we'll be roaming around on streets. So same happened with these animals. We destroyed their habitat and they were roaming, and finally they got killed because they had no place to live, or no place where they were protected. And finally, hunting or poaching is the main reason for depletion of a particular group of animals, or I must say any living organism, because of which they finally were on verge of extinction, that not even a single animal of that particular species was found. So this was a very much threat that the humans, or I must say human activities, urbanization or technological development have posed on wildlife. So this is all the threat that has happened, and now let's see what are the methods that by which we can protect our wildlife. So now you must be thinking that what all are the things, or which all are the animals or plants that we actually need to conserve. So firstly, the large plants and animals that because of our over exploitation and threat to their habitat are on a verge of extinction. So first what we did, that we actually found that what all are the animals that are actually on verge of extinction, like there are only 2 or 10 or 20. That means very few number of animals and plant of that particular species is present. So we all classified these animals and plants into a category that is known as endangered species. Now we have to make efforts, or we need to plan in such a way that first we have to protect this endangered species, and we need to increase their number so that they come out of this list, that is the endangered species, and their number is increased in nature. So now let's see that what all are the methods of wildlife conservation, that how can we conserve this natural resources. So what the government or the organizations did, they made a protected area, right? A protected area was developed for these plants and animals where all the activities, hunting, grazing and cutting of trees were prohibited, that you cannot do all such activities in this areas, and the plants and animals were allowed to live naturally and freely. So such a protected area are known as national parks, like Jim Corbett Park, where people can only see or only can cherish the animals living in their natural habitat, but the activities which exploit them or which can harm them are prohibited. Even grazing, hunting and even cutting of trees is prohibited in those areas. So these areas are known as national parks. Now the second method, that is, you might be thinking that if we prohibit all the activities, that neither the cultivation can happen nor the cutting of trees, all right, hunting can be avoided because that is not necessary, because we can shift on to other materials from which we can make our cloth, purses or bag. But what about the raw material that the industries have to take? Because if they are not getting the raw material from forest, that means if there is a wood industry and it is not getting wood out of forest, then from where it will make wood, right? We can't shift, that is a necessary. So there are few park, or I must say there are few areas where only hunting is prohibited. Cultivation, grazing and cutting of trees to a small extent is allowed. So these areas are known as sanctuaries, but hunting is all strictly prohibited even here. So here industrialists can take the raw material and make product out of them that are useful for humans and for their income. Now the third reserve, or I must say the third area where the people, that means the tribal people, where the habitat of people that are living in forest, obviously in sanctuaries and national park they are not allowed to live, but in this area the tribal people are allowed to live, cultivate and do all their activities, and such a area is known as biosphere reserve. So what is a biosphere reserve? It is a protected area where animals and tribal people can live and do all their activities. So we have studied national parks where nothing was allowed. We have studied sanctuaries where hunting was prohibited and other activities, that means industrialists could take their raw material out of it. And now the biosphere reserve, where even the tribal people can live along with animals, but all these areas are protected and they are under the surveillance of government organizations. This was the first method of wildlife conservation, in which what we did was we protected their habitat. That means we made them live in a protected area where they can do all their activities freely, because they are not bound in cages and they are happy to live, but all the human activities that can harm them were prohibit it. Now the second method, what we can do, so now think, where do these animals live or where these plants grow? That is their habitat. So if we protect their habitat, or if we protect deforestation, that means cutting of forest cover, so obviously they will be protected on their own, but there also hunting must be prohibited, and there are number of laws. We can also protect them by legislation. That means if the government is imposing a law or a heavy fine or a heavy punishment if there is any activity like hunting or destruction of forest or killing of animals, so obviously people will be a bit more careful, right? Because if people are not getting this thing by just making them understand, so there might be stricter methods taken to prevent the people to do this. So that is by legislation. So what all are the laws that are made by the government? So let's see what are the laws or the steps that are taken by the government to protect our wildlife and forest. So there are a number of wildlife acts that are made by the government, such as IBWL. What is this? Indian Board of Wildlife. So what does this board do? It keeps an activity, or it has a surveillance on all the activities made by the humans that can actually harm the forest or the wildlife. So in these, the people in this board, they have to just only see the activities or any development that the government has ordered that it is not harming our wildlife. And this act was made in, this board was made in 1952. Now the second act that was made by the government, that is Wildlife Protection Act in 1972. So now in this act, what happens that the people or the people associated in this act, there are laws made in this act that protects our wildlife, or any activity that is happening that is harming the wildlife can come under this act, and it is a punishable offense. Now the third one is MAB, that is Man and Biosphere Program in 1971, and the fourth was CITES, CITES, that means Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species. Alright, so that means that the trade of species, like suppose one species is present here and it has a high value, like we used to kill elephants for their teeth, right, for the ivory that the teeth has. So now it has been banned that you can't kill an animal to get the skin or the products that it is offering. So even the trade is stopped, that is Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species, and this act was made in 1976.